Hi, this is Sheila Green. I am founder and director of Holy Committed Ministries, and I am also a widow. This video is a little different than I would normally share, but I really feel the need to share. It is now 2:11 in the morning, and I've had a hard time sleeping for quite a while now. On February 26, 2019, my husband committed suicide. And I want to share a little bit about that with you. It is now February 26, 2021. I thought about doing this after finding videos of other women who talked about losing their husbands. My husband and I would have been married 40 years on December 23rd. And so I want to tell you a little bit about that time. I want to share with other women and men who find themselves now widowed, and even those who have suffered through the loss of a loved one through suicide. It's not an easy journey, and I am glad that I have my faith in Christ Jesus. But it's been a hard journey, not only for me, but for my children and my grandchildren, and especially my granddaughter, Judah. You see, my husband, he got cancer, and it spread to his bones, and he suffered greatly, especially with his stomach. No one could ever tell him what was going on. He was a veteran, and a Vietnam veteran, and his cancer came from Agent Orange. So he was 100% disabled veteran. And so it's been a very hard time for us. I also was taking care of my mother during that time. She had a stroke in 2015, and so she had dementia. And so she was living with us as well. But my husband, as long as he could go to the gym, he could ride his bike, he could walk, he was able to deal with the pain, especially with his stomach. He was trying to go to school, some community college classes, and all of that was taken from him. And so he was trying to adjust to this new condition, and he was on hospice. So my thought and my daughter's thought and my granddaughter's thought, because we all lived together along with my mother, we cared for my mother as well, but our thought was to make his life as comfortable as possible, and so that we could give him a little joy for the however long he had to live. And so we fixed the room up and got special bedding linens for him and pictures and a refrigerator, small refrigerator upstairs. We have up and downstairs, even though he could come up and down. We had that so that if he wanted to stay upstairs, he could stay upstairs. We had an upstairs living room as well. So just so that he could be comfortable since he couldn't ride his bike anymore. He couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't go to the gym anymore. We just wanted to make it special, and the thought was that we would be there singing praise songs and praying for him as he took his last breath. Never did we know, because he always told me he would never commit suicide. He would never take his own life. He would never want to leave me that way. And I believed him. I believed him. And so on February 26th, 2019, he had a hard morning. It was so very hard. He started vomiting, and he just definitely didn't want to do that. And so I called hospice nurse. They came over. They gave him medication to help him not be nauseated. And we were trying to get him rested, and we thought he was rested. So I thought he was asleep. So I decided to sit up in the living room for a while before I go back in and check on him. My granddaughter had come from school, and so my granddaughter and I were sitting in the upstairs living room, and we heard this horrible noise. Never did I think anything other than maybe the bed, because he had a hospital bed, that it fell. But when my granddaughter, who was 9 at the time, she got to the room first, because it takes me a while to get up from a seating position. And then when I got to the door, I'm thinking the bed had fallen and he was on the floor, and I'm looking for him. And then we find him. I see him. My granddaughter saw him first, and she said it looked like spaghetti. I don't mean to be that graphic, and I'm not going to go into any more details. But all I could do was scream and scream and scream and scream and scream. My granddaughter, I didn't even think I was paralyzed. I couldn't go in the room. And my granddaughter removed herself. I wish I had had the mind to move her. But in an instant, he was gone. In an instant, he was gone. I didn't get to sit by his bed and massage his body and to help him with the pains of his bones, his body. I didn't get to do any of that. He took his life. I'm a widow. I thought we would grow old together, and he was in he was 70 um, when he passed. But I thought we would grow old together. I am a minister, and so I didn't work. I don't get paid for what I do as a pastor, so we lived on his income. And when he passed, two sources of income was taken back, but he had three sources. All of them stopped. I had no income, but I couldn't worry about that. I had to turn it over to the Lord, because see, I still had my mother to care for. As I dealt with arrangements. Oh, it was such a hard time. It was a hard time. We had to stay in the hotel for 2 or 3 weeks, while the special unit came to clean the room and paint the room, and the furniture had to be thrown away and carpet had to be replaced. And while at the hotel, first my mom trying to set her on the toilet because it was all new. We didn't have all of the safety precautions in the hotel, and she broke the one of the toilets in one of the rooms. And then a couple of days later, I had to rush her to the hospital because of her breathing. Also, during that time, elder care was called. Well, that was such a hard time. My mother went to the hospital. They kept her till they got her stable, and then she went to rehab while we were still in the hotels. The day of the memorial service, the day before, I had made arrangements for my mom to attend the memorial service, so I was at the store shopping for her address when the rehab called me and said they had to take her to the ER because she had fallen. So I had to stop what I was doing and go to the hospital. The next day, she couldn't come to the memorial, and so I had to keep visiting her at the hospital and dealing with hotels and last arrangements. And it was a very hard time. And today is the day. I think the reason why it's even harder is because um, I had my mom to distract me from even more of the processing and grieving process. But May of last year, she passed away. So since she's passed away, it's been even harder. The birthday and the anniversary, our wedding anniversary, and now this day, February 26th, that he took his life. We don't expect some of the things to happen to us that happens to us in life. But it's so important to have a relationship with the Lord, because some things are just so hard to deal with. To be called on during the most critical, hardest time, to be someone to call and claim that you are not taking care of your mother, that elder care, the elder protective services was called. It's like, who would do such a thing? Anybody that knew me knew that I took good care of my mother. There were some that thought that my husband was assisted in his suicide. Who would ever think of such a thing? This has been a very hard time for my family. But we were okay. God blessed us. There were so many people in our lives, in our past life, family who sent money. And so I was always able to pay my house note. Our lights never went out. We never had need for food. We were really, really blessed. It took 7 months before I had an income come in. God is so good. So I wanted just to share. I really felt the need to share this. Please forgive me. And I think I would be crying. I ask for your prayers to get through this day, for my daughter to get through this day. My son is deployed in Kuwait. He's captain of a company, that he can get through this day. My granddaughter can get through this day because we haven't been sleeping well. I just give God the glory. I know he's going to walk with us today. Thank you for listening to me and my story.